realize it or not.
It's a sobering thought, but also a powerful one. It feels like we're just scratching the surface here. What else can we learn from those early records and historical accounts? Are there any other story that stand out to you?
There are so many stories waiting to be uncovered, and each one offers a unique perspective on this pivotal period in American history. For example, there's the story of Angela, who was baptized in 1623 and given the surname of her owner, Captain William Tucker.
Okay, Angela. What's her story?
Well, we don't have a lot of details about her life, but her baptism record provides some interesting clues. It mentions that she was born in Angola, confirming the origin of many of these early Africans. It also suggests that she was relatively young at the time of her arrival.
So she would have grown up in Virginia, navigating this new world as a young woman. I wonder what her memories of Angola were if she held on to any traditions or stories from her homeland.
It's fascinating to think about, isn't it? What traces of her African heritage did she carry with her? Did she find ways to blend those traditions with her new life in Virginia?
These are the kinds of questions that really bring history to life. They remind us that we're not just dealing with dates and events, we're dealing with real people who lived, loved, struggled, and persevered.
Exactly. And each individual story adds another layer to our understanding of this complex and often tragic period.
Speaking of individual stories, there's another one that caught my eye. It involves a legal dispute that gives us a glimpse into the lives of enslaved Africans in those early years. Are you familiar with the case of John Punch?
Yes, John Punch's story is particularly significant because it's considered by many historians to be a turning point in the legal development of slavery in Virginia.
Okay, I'm intrigued. What happened to John Punch?
In 1640, John Punch, who was enslaved by Hugh Gwyn, ran away along with two indentured servants, a Dutchman named Victor and a Scotsman named James Gregory. They were all captured and brought before the Virginia Governor's Council for punishment. Now, here's where things get interesting.
I'm listening. What was their punishment?
Victor and James Gregory, the indentured servants, were sentenced to extended terms of service. But John Punch, because he was black, received a harsher punishment.
Oh no, this doesn't sound good. What did they do to him?
The Governor's Council sentenced John Punch to servitude for life. This decision marked one of the first legal distinctions between black and white laborers in Virginia, setting a precedent for the racialization of slavery.
So even though they all committed the same crime running away, John Punch was singled out and punished more severely solely because of his race.
Precisely. It's a chilling example of how racial prejudice was already shaping the legal system and paving the way for the horrors that would follow.
Yeah, it makes you realize how fragile freedom was for those early Africans, how easily it could be stripped away based on something as arbitrary as skin color.
And it highlights the insidious nature of racism, how it crept into the very fabric of society, shaping laws, customs, and ultimately destinies.
It's a heavy realization, but an important one. We can't ignore these difficult truths if we want to understand the roots of racial inequality in America. We need to face them head on.
I agree. It's about acknowledging the wrongs of the past so that we can work towards a more just and equitable future.
This deep dive has been eye-opening, to say the least. I'm already feeling a shift in my understanding of this period. It's not just about dates and battles anymore. It's about real people, individual stories, and the systems of power that shape their lives.
And it's about how those systems continue to influence our world today. We're all connected to this history, whether we realize it or not. Yeah, it's been an incredible journey, hasn't it? And it's amazing to think about how those early events in Virginia, the arrival of those first Africans, had repercussions that stretched across the globe.
It really highlights the interconnectedness of history, how seemingly isolated events can have far-reaching consequences. It makes you wonder about all the other stories, the untold stories that are woven into this larger narrative.
Oh, there are countless stories waiting to be unearthed, and each one has the potential to shed new light on this complex period. It's like piecing together a giant puzzle, each fragment adding to the bigger picture.
And it feels like we're still just at the beginning of that process. There's so much more to discover, so much more to understand.
Exactly. And that's what makes history so fascinating. It's an ongoing conversation, a constant process of discovery and interpretation.
Speaking of interpretation, I've been thinking about something you said earlier. You mentioned that understanding this history is crucial if we want to understand the present. Can you expand on that a bit? How can we apply the lessons we've learned from this deep dive to our lives today?
Well, for starters, I think it's crucial to recognize the ways in which the legacies of slavery and racism continue to shape our society. We need to be aware of the systemic biases that exist in our institutions, our policies, and even our own thinking.
So it's not just about acknowledging the past. It's about understanding how that past continues to influence the present. How do we do that? How do we become more aware of those subtle but pervasive influences?
It starts with education, with learning about history from multiple perspectives. We need to seek out the voices that have been silenced, the stories that have been marginalized. and we need to be willing to confront uncomfortable truths about our nation's past.
Yeah, it sounds like a process of self-reflection, of examining our own beliefs and assumptions about race and equality.
Exactly, and it's not always easy. It can be challenging to confront our own biases, to acknowledge the ways in which we might be perpetuating systems of inequality. But it's necessary work if we want to create a more just and equitable society.
It feels like this deep dive has been more than just a history lesson. It's been a call to action.
I agree. It's about understanding the past, not just for the sake of knowledge, but for the sake of change.
So where do we go from here? What can we do as individuals to contribute to that change?
Oh, there are so many ways to get involved. We can support organizations that are working to dismantle systems of oppression. We can educate ourselves and others about the history of race and racism in this country. We can challenge racist language and behavior when we encounter it. And we can vote for policies and candidates who are committed to creating a more just and equitable world.
It sounds like it starts with awareness, then moves towards action, both on a personal and a societal level.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that we're all part of this story, and we all have a role to play in shaping its ending.
Well said. This deep dive has been an incredible journey of discovery. We've uncovered layers of history, encountered individuals who defied the odds and confronted the dark realities of a system that would shape the course of a nation. But we've also seen glimpses of hope stories, of resilience, and a growing awareness of the need for change.
It's been an honor to share this journey with you and with our listener, and I hope that this conversation inspires further exploration, deeper reflection, and a renewed commitment to creating a world where justice and equality prevail.
I couldn't agree more. To our listener, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the past. We hope it sparked your curiosity, challenged your assumptions, and left you with a sense of both the weight of history and the possibility of change. Keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep pushing for a better tomorrow.